Okay, we've got it. It's the final week of the Open. We have a workout which is a choose your own destiny style workout. So this is definitely something that hasn't come up in the Open, and it's going to be challenging people in terms of their strategy, but obviously for those people who are going to be pushing for those faster times, definitely going to be pushing their capacity as well. So before we get into this, I've had a lot of questions over the tie break and sort of what the goal for people should be. Everyone as a minimum should be finishing the row and the wall ball. That is your tie break time, and it is also easy reps. So before you go into any strategizing or anything like that, that is the goal for everyone, okay? It is to finish both the wall ball and also the row, okay? Obviously, one repetition of the muscle up is going to be the same as 1 calorie on the rower and also 1 wall ball shot. So you want to make sure that you're completing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break things up into 3 categories, okay? So first category is we have those people who are just looking to maximize their row and their wall ball time, and you know, if they've got the opportunity to jump up onto the rings and try for a muscle up, so be it. Group 2 is those people who don't necessarily feel like they're going to finish the whole workout, but they want to accumulate as many reps on the muscle up as possible. And then group 3 is for those people who are going to be trying to complete the workout within the time cap. So for the first group, those people just looking to complete the 120 wall ball and also the 80 calories on the row, you want to keep moving throughout. You have to make sure that you are picking a rep scheme or you're picking a structure which allows you to keep moving and doesn't let you rest. If you are going to be choosing something with more transitions and something that's going to be higher turnover, then this is something that you have to consider. Obviously, those transitions will be taking up some time, but that is okay if, say for instance, you do keep moving and you stay somewhat fresh throughout. If you're doing it this way, my suggestion is to start out easy and then have a bit of a kick at the end. And that kick could be you potentially doing more repetitions, or that could be you trying to just go a little bit quicker through those last couple of rounds. So if we're looking at quick transitions, you're most probably going to be looking at performing 12 wall ball, 8 calories, going through something similar to that for around about 10 rounds. You could go 15 and 10, I think, for around about 8 rounds. But you need to figure out a system which is going to allow you just to keep those transitions fairly swift and not have to break up the wall ball. The row is going to be where you can just change up your pace up a little bit, just according to how you feel throughout the workout. But we need to make sure that we're not breaking those wall ball up into like 3 sets per attempt. If you are going to be going through bigger sets, then that's going to be better for people who are taller and those people who are a little bit more powerful. You can definitely chunk up your time a little bit more, and you can be going for bigger sets on the wall ball and also on the row. But just bear in mind, if you are taking, say for instance, resting for more than 5 seconds between breaking up your wall ball, then you most likely need to break it down to a smaller rep scheme. But generally, I think that for these people who are going to be looking to maximize this here, it's going to be about you guys just making sure that you stay fairly fresh through the first part of the workout, and then you really push, okay? So the workout's not going to be won in that first half. It's going to be towards the end where you have to really stay diligent in how you break up that workout. But for this one, it's going to be mainly either a high turnover situation where you're moving quickly from one to the other, staying fairly quickly, or you could go with bigger sets, or you could go with descending sets. So you could start off with something bigger and then get incrementally smaller just to maintain that intensity. So there are 3 options there. Group 2, if you're looking to accumulate as many muscle ups as you can, you have to make sure that you preserve your muscle up quality and you're not wasting your time with failed reps. Now, if say for instance, you don't necessarily have a lot of muscle ups and you haven't practiced them under fatigue, it could be worth going through this sort of more sandwich structure where you've got muscle ups at the start, you go to your wall ball, you go to your row, and then you've got muscle ups at the end. So that way that you're staying fairly fresh as you go through them. But if you have been performing muscle ups under fatigue somewhat, then you could potentially go with something similar to this where you've got 10 rounds, 1 muscle up, 12 wall ball, 1 muscle up, and then 8 calories. Or you could change it up. You could go with for instance 2 muscle ups or 4 muscle ups, and then you could go to 12 and then go straight to the calorie row. But this structure here where we have that higher turnover, what we're looking for is just making sure that you feel good through your muscle ups. If towards the end you feel like you can have a bit of a kick and you can increase that volume, that's great, and that we can do that, but you just want to make sure that you are preserving your muscle ups through that. Second thing as well, if you get to the point where, say for instance, you're at 15 minutes and you're following this structure where you're just trying to stay relaxed and just get as many muscle ups as possible, just make sure that you have you're working towards finishing the row and the wall ball and you're not wasting any time there. Okay, if you're fairly good with pacing, you could probably push that out so that you're going more towards the later minutes through the 20-minute time cap. However, you have to make sure that you're on top of your pacing. So if you go through this structure where you've got the 1 muscle up, 12 wall ball, 1 muscle up, 8 calories, obviously you have 20 reps at the end that you need to work through. So this way you get a load of work done, you get the wall balls and you get the row finished, and then at the end you just go through an AMRAP as best as possible. Okay, so there are 2 different structures there. If you are fairly intuitive and you're fairly experienced with this type of stuff and you can pick up on things like fatigue quite easily, and you understand where you need to hold back and where you can push, you could freestyle a little bit more in how you break that up. But I would just recommend trying to make sure that you keep the row and the wall ball in, say, increments that make sense to you. So for me, it would be, okay, hitting 12 wall ball and 8 calories every single round, and then if I feel good towards the end, I could go with a 24 on the wall ball and I could go with 16 on the row. Okay, that way I can sort of keep an eye on what I'm doing, and also make sure you've got good communication with your judge. If you watch the announcement videos, you can watch some people went through it quite just sort of like freestyle. They were doing random stuff here and there, just because they are fairly intuitive and they know what they can do, and they know where they can push and where they need to hold back. So because they have that training experience and they have that experience in a sort of more competitive environment, they can freestyle a little bit more and try to maximize their score in that way. But I would recommend, if you are sort of trying just to preserve your muscle ups as best as possible, come up with a plan, stick with it, and then towards the end, if you need to change it up a little bit, you can do that. Group 3, so this is for those people who are looking to complete the workout. You just have to stay busy throughout. Okay, you can't be resting at any point, hands on the knees, stuff like that. That can't go for this one. All right, you have the opportunity to move to a different exercise. So if you're pushing yourself so far into fatigue on one movement that you actually have to rest, and you're creating this sort of general fatigue where you're just out of breath and the whole body starts to shut down, you don't want to do that at all. So you have the opportunity to just mix it up, and you saw that people were doing that in the announcement videos. They were being quite intuitive about how they were doing it, just because they were staying off of that sort of general fatigue feel. So we don't want to hit that at any point. Make sure you preserve your muscle ups, no failed reps. You know, if you start to feel that reps are a little bit grindy or a little bit slow, and you're not necessarily being as quick and dynamic as you want to be, then you have to make sure that you are reducing the amount of sets and your expectations as to what you can do. And potentially it might mean that you just do smaller sets of muscle ups just more frequently. If your goal is to hit under 15 minutes and really push for this workout, then vary how you do this. You can start off big and then work your way down. That's probably going to be the most common approach. Or you can just go with sort of bigger sets and just keep it nice and consistent, aiming for around about 4 or 5 sets overall for the whole workout. But like I said, try to sort of have this conversation with yourself throughout the workout and understand where you need to hold, and then where you need to sort of push back, and then also push throughout the workout. But you want to do something that allows you just to have a bit of a kick at the end, just because you're going to have that energy to do that. And if you pace it well, you should have the energy to push, either whether it's sprinting on the row at the end or just trying to sort of like chip away at the wall ball. But I would recommend trying to get your muscle ups completed a little bit quicker, so that the last part of the workout is more of a sprint on the wall ball or on the row. If your goal is to be going 15 to 20 minutes, then you just have to be a lot more consistent, and you have to be a lot more disciplined in how you do that. So it's going to be about starting easy and then allowing yourself to kick at the end. You're going to find that you might start off with something like a 4, a 12, and an 8, the plan is to go through 10 rounds of that. You'll find that that feels fairly manageable for the first 5 rounds, but then after that, that could start to creep in. Think about the workouts, the first 2 workouts that we had in the open this year, the snatches and the bar facing burpees, and then also the toes to bar, dumbbell front squats, and the double unders. Think about how you sort of felt through the first half of those workouts and then how you felt towards the last end. It's the last end, that's where you guys really need to make sure that you are being diligent with your pacing and you are understanding, okay, this is where I can push, this is where I can hold. But generally this workout is very repeatable. You've got like quite a big chunk of time to accumulate 120 wall ball and 80 cows, and it is going to be more about how you can pace this. So if you're the one and done crowd, then just make sure you have your strategy in place and that you stick with it, and you really try to make sure you maximize that result. Check out some other videos, play around with the combinations, sort of see how you're feeling, and just make sure that you are going into this workout as prepared as possible. If you're going to be repeating, then this is where you can play around with the tactics a little bit more, but my suggestion is just to try and get the workout done with some form of plan, and then adjust from there based off of how you feel. And then obviously check out some workouts on YouTube and see how people are doing. Warming up for this workout, if you're going to be really pushing for a faster time, you have to warm up a lot more. Just because you need to make sure that you are ready for that intensity and that you're feeling those movements under a little bit more fatigue. If you are going through this workout and you're just looking to try to keep things as fresh as possible, then I would recommend just having small touches on the movements before you get into it. Build into it, be sort of work in isolation and then work into sort of more integration. So we can, if we're looking at the muscle up, we're looking at things like strict pull-ups, going through some kip swings and building into the movement and not necessarily just jumping straight into them. Make sure you get a good 10 minutes on the rowing machine to start off with, just so you can get your lungs open, you get the body nice and warm. Small touches on each movement, and then you should be good to go, okay? So make sure that you guys are warming up as you plan to go in the workout. If you're gonna be hitting this with some high intensity from the get-go, you have to make sure that you start that in your warm-up, okay? Whatever that sort of shitty feeling is gonna be for you in the workout, you wanna be hitting it at some point in the warm-up. Overall, this workout is going to be quite challenging for some people, especially those people who are not necessarily going to be, or don't necessarily have the ability to do 40 muscle-ups in one workout. But it is the final workout. Make sure that you finish how you started. Okay, so whatever your goals were as you started this open, make sure that you complete this. Okay, as you wanted to start out. Obviously, with the open, there's lots of ups and downs for everyone. It's a long sort of process, so you have to make sure that you are setting yourself up for your next training year. Okay, set the tone and make sure that you commit to this just as much as you decided to commit to this at the start. Okay, good luck. Let me know how you guys get on, and then we can sort of discuss plans and things like that over the weekend if you guys are going to be repeating.